Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Good evening, good afternoon. I am Brick Something, and you're watching the Brick Something News, which is a ridiculous acronym for the Needless Ephemera We Saw. Because sometimes it's actually newsy, sometimes it's just random stuff that I want to talk about with a buddy and a fellow nerd. Today we are joined by, so it's a kind of a thing. It's From the Realm, the awesome new toy company and toy line that folks should know about, as well as like one of the most amazing toy influencers, toy fans, collector dudes, and all around like super creative guy, Jorge of Toy Addicts. What's going on, Jorge?
Good, man. Awesome. So stoked to be here today. Great timing, man. It's awesome time to spend some time talking about toys this summer.
Yes, absolutely. You and I both sort of work in schools, and so things change a little bit during the summer for me. Obviously, I get to break. You've got a shift in your work, but for me, that means, hey, I get a little bit more headspace to breathe and think about toys and do stuff with the channel, etc. But now you've got a bunch of stuff to manage, right? You're doing, obviously, you've got life stuff. We were just talking about, family and all that. And then you've got work, of course, and then you're still doing the podcast. You're still managing the Thundercats Classic, the Thundercats Collectors Hub at Thundercats Classics on Instagram, and you're still doing the podcast. And then now you're like managing, creating toys, and navigating what it's like to be an indie toy maker. For folks who aren't familiar, Jorge and Carlos of the Badass Reviews, who couldn't be with us today because he's having some fun, which he should be doing. They're doing this line that I've shown here before, called From the Realm. Yeah. And so actually I haven't, what is there a toy company name yet?
So Monolith Studios is going to be the partner company that me, Eric, and Carlos will be managing. And, I didn't want to do From the Realm as the actual entity because I don't want to limit myself to just this line, So Monolith Studios is
Monolith Studios. All right. So one of three of the partners in that venture, and you mentioned Eric. Eric, last name again is Sosa. Sosa. So Eric, Sosa, Carlos, and yourself are doing that. Man, that's a lot to juggle. And so we'll talk a lot about that. I want to get some updates. I've spoken with you separately here on the news. I've spoken with Carlos separately. And then the three of us after Legion's Con in November, right? I was so excited, and I'm sorry, but we sat down. I was like, hey, man, let's shoot this interview. Let's tell people about From the Realm. And it's sitting on my hard drive. And you know how that is. But I will do it, especially now that I have some time. Because the channel has definitely been neglected. It's been the weekly thing, which is awesome, but that's pretty much what I can manage. But I'm just excited. I'm excited to see you do your thing. I'm constantly just like, I don't know how you do it, but it's getting done. And then, so we'll do that. But then also I wanted to kind of just talk about indie toys in general, specifically this past weekend out in Augusta, Georgia. Joe Fest has been happening. You've been paying attention to that stuff, man?
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, man.
And it's just like indie toys. It's like Joe Fest kind of couched under this G.I. Joe banner. Mm-hmm. And yet, like, there's just so many independent toy makers there showing off their stuff. Some of it in line with the sort of G.I. Joe brand of things, but so much of it not. So I'd love to look at that stuff first and just kind of look at like what other folks are doing. And then I would, love the idea of you doing your work and eventually being at the Joe Fest where folks can buy from the Realm stuff and whatever else you got going on.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
We're getting there. Okay. First and foremost, got to do the business. Let's say hello to all the folks who have joined us today, and thank you to everyone who's watching live today. I know it's a weird day. I'm trying my best to compartmentalize the realities of the world, the horror of the real world, so that Jorge and I can talk about some fantasy horror for
sure.
All right, let's say hello to the folks who are here with us. We've got Brian Carr. Happy Sunday to you, man. And yes, there was some AWOC news coming out of Joe Fest that we'll get to in a little bit. Blake up in Oregon. Hello, sir.
What's up, Blake? What's going on, buddy?
That's right there. See, he's highlighting the key part. Wonderful humans. At the end of the day, let's embrace humanity and each other and the joy. Mr. Ryan Clark, hello to you, sir. Good to see you, man. Larry's Geeky World is here. Hello to you and to everyone. Thanos Copter, what's going on, Thanos? Good to see you.
What's up,
all is good in your neck of the woods, in your part of California. We've got Josh Brown, always super supportive of the show and just doing some cool things for the custom toy community. Ray Paz is here. Hello, what's up, Ray?
What's up, Ray?
I paused there for a second because I just realized I unwittingly, that's the right word, skipped over Nolan. What's up, Nolan? Sorry,
Nolan, what's up, man?
Let's see. David Salinas, what's going on? Hey guys, glad I got in on a live. Man, I'm glad you got in on a live too, and I'm glad you're here watching. I appreciate it. And I think that's not it at all. Hey, G-Hi Jet, man, what's going on, man? I love it. Toy Addict with a capital T and a capital A. The reality is, like, everyone in this chat, and myself, we are all toy addicts. And we know it.
Absolutely.
Allison Troy, retro toy princess. Hello to you. Can't wait to sit down with Allison and do some coloring. We're doing some Battle of the Planets Gotcha Man awesome. Coloring soonish. Yes, bask in the escapism, man. Let's take a break. All right.
Sure.
So thank you to everyone who's here watching live. Thank you to everyone who will be watching in the future on the replay. If you're doing that, see, I'm bad about this whole YouTube thing. I got to remember. Hit the like and the subscribe. There's a little bell, that whole thing, to make sure that, like, YouTube does a little bit of screaming at you to say, like, 1, Brick Something exists, 2, the news are on. So that's super helpful. And then I will say this, I never do this. At the end, if you could help by, after we end live, if you could drop in the actual comments, not in the live chat, and just let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know what you want to see specifically today. Let me know 2 things, what you all are thinking about indie toys in general. Are you in or you out? You prefer the old existing stuff and you just want to see Hasbro, Mattel build that stuff up? Well, are you into the indie toys? What do you collect? That was a lot. Anyways, teaching. I'm off my game. And then what do you think of what this guy's doing? This notion of giving us, like, all the different versions of some of the greatest horror creatures that pop culture has produced. Would love to know. So with that, let's talk Joe Fest, man. Let's see. First off, I will say a special shout out to Big Dub, who will see a lot of his stuff lately, because really, from my perspective, he had some of the best coverage. And so I appreciate him. Appreciate him for that. He's got the best coverage, and I think he hits a lot of the stuff that, like, I vibe with in terms of, like, who was all there. So thank you to him. And then Adam as well, who was working the Spero booth, who sent me a bunch of photos. We'll look at some of those. So, but before we do, we've got some folks who came to class a little bit late. Where's your tardy slip, sir? KJ Smith is here. Had a good time hanging with that guy this Friday night. Since I'm on summer, I've been, like, trying to do more of that, like hop around and people I've missed. So, yeah, I'd love to hang out with you all if you've got some space on a Thursday, if I'm around too. Let's see. And then no chewing. Chewy, what's up, man? He is here.
What's up, dude?
Okie doke. Oh, I should also say that on the bottom right of your screen, over Jorge's left shoulder is that little QR code. And then at the bottom, creeping in right now, you'll see bit.ly/brick something news with a capital B, a capital S, and a capital news. That'll take you to a document. It's just a Google Doc that has all the links because I'm a visual person. I like to look at stuff. So we'll show you some stuff here. But if you're watching on the replay and you want to follow these people, to me, that's even more important than like hitting like and subscribe, honestly. Because like I said, go to Big Dubs. You'll see all his links. Follow him. Check out the Joe Fest site. Check out all these companies that we're going to go to because these are the indie toys. It's the indie toy world. They don't have the Hasbro bucks or the Mattel bucks for the press and all that stuff. They need diehards like us to like go out and check this stuff out and share it. So please do. Okay. With that, I think I need to move us over and there. Yeah, that kind of works. Okay. So let's start off with Joe Fest. It happens pretty much it has happened every year since it started in Augusta, Georgia. As you can see from the name and the logo, it's definitely sorry, I should be careful, but it's very Joe centric, right? I love the first off as an old guy. It's the mix of what I call my uncle's G.I. Joe font for the old 12-inch, and then a real American hero like my stuff. Yeah. Have you ever had a chance to go?
I haven't been to Joe Fest. No, okay. I appreciate, and Joe's is part of my nostalgia, but I've never been that hardcore where I'll go to a Joe centric show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. These days I watch the Joe stuff from afar. I haven't collected it, but that's an interesting point about this year. It feels like since PowerCon has kind of been up in the air. Was it just Carlos last time at that last PowerCon that went, or did you both go?
We were both at Toylanta. Yeah, Toylanta / PowerCon Mini. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I meant the PowerCon proper. What was that? 2 years ago?
That was I believe it was 2023. I think.
Okay. Yeah. Were you at that one? The one where a lot of folks kind of got together?
I went to the last one that was in Anaheim.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Because, I went with Carlos to the one in Anaheim. He went to another one afterwards that I believe was,
in Ohio. Sorry.
I went to the one in Anaheim with my wife by myself. And then I went to the one in Ohio with Carlos.
That's what I thought.
There was another one in Anaheim that I missed. So it was one in between that I didn't go to.
Oh, I don't think so. I think the one in Ohio was the last, and that was a big one where they had the Thundercats Cat's Lair, right? Did you see that in person?
Yes, I did.
My understanding, if I'm remembering, that was the last big one, and then there was the sort of like basically they put a pause on it, and then you're right. They brought it back and sort of tagged it on to Toylanta as sort of like a section. Yeah. But that last one, if we go back to that big PowerCon that you all went to, what that was like, kind of like this one, where it was like a lot of the indie toy companies were all there, right? And it was a chance for a lot of folks like you and I who talk about toys all the time on YouTube to get together and meet each other. And so what I'm bringing that up because it seems like this one, Joe Fest, has sort of become a little bit of that replacement. Sure, there's both Toylanta and this have become these places where all the folks come together, and even though it says Joe Fest, like a crap ton of what was shown were all indie, like brand new toy lines, and so it's a real cool show in that way because you go, sure, if you're into Joe's, go, but then you're exposed to all these like other new toy lines that are out. Some of them are kind of like in line with Joe's, whether it's Operation Monster Force or, you've got a bunch of O-ring stuff like Delta 17 that like perfectly slots with your real American hero stuff. Mm-hmm. And so to me, I love that kind of show because it's like really bringing the sort of nostalgic world and the like toy fan who wants to see new things together. And so if folks may, let's take a look. This is their Instagram, and you can kind of see, and I'll just quickly scroll through this. Like they had panels with brand new toy companies. Like this stuff, you're probably like, what is that? I don't remember that in G.I. Joe. Like, that's because this is all new stuff. And honestly, I'm not going to talk about it all. Like this one here, I barely, that's brand new to me. Whiskey Jack Toys, International Military Police Anti-Crime Task Force. But if you scroll through here, you're seeing stuff that's, so this is familiar. What? Super 7 Reaction Plus O-rings are now doing like cartoon versions of G.I. Joe the movie figures, right? And then, you've got this stuff. They're doing Tiger Force in Ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this stuff, which I'll get to in a little bit, but I'm excited about that. Like there's just all sorts of stuff going on. Today, I just kind of wanted to focus on a couple of the things that, I tend to talk about here on the show, and some of those indie lines that I think you slot in perfectly as far as just like another great, mainly 112 toy line for us to consider buying. And that's a weird thing, is like I've seen this blow up in a way where, a couple years ago I was like, yeah, I'm doing G.I. Joe Classified, right? And that's what I do. Or I'm doing Origins. And then some of those people I start to see over the last couple of years have been dabbling, and they're buying from these things. Like I've got some Mythic Legions, I've got some AWOC, I've got some Savage Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's what it's about. And we're going to make sure that they add From the Realm to that list.
Absolutely.
So there's the show floor. It's a pretty big show.
Yeah.
And there's stuff upstairs as well. But let's start off with what I have shared here on the channel. The studio that I sort of believe has kind of like really set the stage for what, in my brain, this current like wave of indie toys is like. This is the model, the gold standard. I always say the Four Horsemen. They were there this weekend. I know you're a Horsemen fan as well.
Yep.
They didn't really have anything new. They've had their stuff there, but I think the big thing to share with folks is that they've had this guy up that they did. What was it now? 2 weeks or so?
Mm-hmm.
They revealed Infinite Legions, a whole new toy line to add to their roster of toy lines using their Mythic Legions, what they call the Legions build system, pop and swap, etc. Don't need to rehash what it's about, but these are the 2 figures that they're there. It's a collaboration with Onell Designs. They're Glyos-based toys. They've sort of translated them through the Four Horsemen / Eric Treadaway mind, I guess. And this is what we got. Curious, did you pick these guys up?
I didn't. I appreciate them from afar. I've never really delved into the world of Glyos. There's a lot of stuff, I believe the whole concept of Mythic Legions originated from Glyos. Because I remember when they first launched, I was at Toy Fair that year. They did like an off-site reveal / party at a local toy shop. And they had the first ever prototypes of Mythic Legions. And they were going to be small scale. I think they were like 3 3/4 scale. So it was interesting how they decided to go the 112 scale route instead. But yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's been a really long time, and they're kind of going back to what inspired the whole program,
Yeah, which is really beautiful. So to kind of start this indie toy celebration today, I guess, with Four Horsemen, it's exactly what you just said. You broke it down. But you and I were there last November in New Jersey when they were basically celebrating 25th anniversary of the studio, the 10th anniversary of Mythic Legions, which, as you pointed out, has its roots in Glyos. Like that was the original intention. So we know the pop and swap thing is very Glyos, and now it's very Mythic Legions. They showed so many like amazing things in there that it was hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And what they also shared was this, that they were going to do a whole new line in 2025. And this was what it was, right? This Infinite Legions collaborating with other IP creators. And that's, you pretty much nailed the concept, right? They went back to their roots. They went with a designer who was working in the Glyos space. It really is this like iconic character of the Phaeton on the left. And they did their thing with it. A lot of great stuff came out of this. If you haven't watched their stream and their documentary that they sort of did about the process, a lot of cool notes as a creative. Did you check that out as a creative person yourself and toy designer?
I haven't had a chance to check it out. So they have like kind of like what they did with the dragon. They have an actual birth of Infinite Legions.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Eric's brother is now on board with the team, so they're doing a lot more of that sort of behind the scenes documentation and editing it into a beautiful package. I think you would appreciate it for sure. They talk about the creative process and collaborating with Onel Designs, and there's some really cool stuff there that I think you dig. Anyway, today is the final day to pre-order this figure. I don't know how much you paid attention to it, but it was they had a special 2-pack price. This guy, you can buy them for $45 each or 2 for $85 directly from them. So it's kind of the best deal you have on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like with all Legion stuff, you can buy them later at the retail prices from other retailers. So it's currently up. It's gonna leave the site in a little bit. I'm in for this 2-pack for $85. I want the different parts, but I want these figures. I'm a big Micronauts guy from back in the day, and this like it screams that to me. Love these like just cool looking creature aliens and big old spacesuits. Love the arm cannon thing too, very like Metroid and Batman.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this line. All that stuff you can mix and match with your Cosmic Legions, Mythic Legions. A lot of these are built on Cosmic Legions parts that are coming soon. So cool stuff. Curious if anybody in the chat has gone in for them. First off, what's up, Vaz? Good to see you. Whichever Vaz is on the other end of this.
What's up, Vaz?
Yeah, look at this guy. Don't be sorry, man. I know you're great. You go have fun. I hope
not only is he at Universal, but his daughter is kicking some ass at the Nationals. That's really why they're in Orlando. So when they're having downtime, they're going to the parks, but it's his daughter kicking ass on some dance competitions. So,
dope.
Yeah, super proud daddy moment for Carlos, for sure.
Well done, Papa. Good job, man. That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. My kids are lazy, so no, they quit. My kids quit their dance class. Let's see, bust them out. Twizzler19 is here. Thank you for joining us today. Ordered 2 of the 2-packs and the pins. Yeah, and you're referring to let's see, there are pins associated with these guys, a set of 3 pins.
Oh yeah, cool.
I'm tempted. I applaud you. I wanted more of those parts, but I didn't. I just got the 1 2-pack. Thanos, they look cool, but he passed. Totally get that. Larry's Geeky World is waiting till the absolute last minute to order the blue one. So yeah, I get it. Ryan Clark, I like Thanos, which is the purple dude. That was kind of a surprise. We knew that Phaeton was coming. Yeah, and you're going to pre-order it from a Canadian retailer. Very cool. David Salinas, they look good, not just not for me. Get that. We can't buy everything, although we may want to. All right. So with that, to me, 4 Horsemen really are foundational, at least in my brain, for this whole indie toy thing, because they do a bunch of things, whether it's their pre-order sort of cycle with regularity, the idea of pop and swap that kind of like hooks us a little bit, and me and my Lego brain like is great to know that love what these creators are doing, but I can play with them and customize them, which I think is like truly a part of modern toy collecting now. So I love that they do that. their marketing stuff, what Jeremy does. Like, you know, I'm constantly taking notes. I'm sure you as a yeah, yeah, like it's just masterclass stuff, man. And of course the designs and sculpts and everything. Kind of, let me ask you this as a creator who's about to do You're From the Realm. In what ways, like what specific things do you sort of observe that Four Horsemen does that you're like, we want to make sure that we are shooting for that?
I think honestly, you know, one thing undoubtedly between Carlos and I is we want to build community. We want to have, we actually have our Facebook group. People chime in occasionally. I have different chats up, you know, asking about different types of vampires, and a lot of people have mentioned vampires from novels, vampires from board games, RPGs, all that kind of stuff. Just really trying to get a feel for what people would like to see made into action figures. So definitely a community and fan driven line. You know, we want to hear what people want to see, because at the end of the day, it's the consumer, and the more we deliver on what the consumer is expecting and wanting, the better it is overall for everybody. So
you're absolutely right. That's another thing I didn't mention, like the community that the Four Horsemen have been able to build around their lines, that level of sort of, you know, obviously like, hey, great loyal customers that'll be with us and ride with us and evangelize and tell everybody about it. But also that's your base, as you say, like you can hear from them. What do you want? And, you know, get that feedback. Curious, since you've mentioned that, have you found it, how do you balance like, okay, that's great, they want these things, but then I'm sure you have things that you want to do. Like, what's that like as you're sort of?
I mean, it's interesting because now as a creative, you know, you already, as we know, as collectors and you know, as people that cover toy news and stuff like that, we know that anything that is coming out right now has been in planning and in pre-production stages for possibly about a 2-year period, right? So anything people are suggesting now is not stuff that's going to be, you know, ignored or dismissed, but it's definitely things that can be considered for, you know, 2-3 years from now. So, you know, it's always good. And sometimes, you know, people mention, like the other day, someone just chimed in. I think they sent me a DM and they're like, will you consider doing like armored vampires? And I'm like, sky's the limit, you know, like we can do whatever. What's up? What's
Perfect
going
timing.
on, Trevor? Good evening,
What's
sir.
up, Trevor? We're just looking at your work.
The man right here. He's the guy with the visual magic. Like that magic lens, man. I just can't wait to see. We, you know, hopefully we can possibly collaborate with him on From the Realm. That's something that's been discussed. So
that'd be amazing.
I'd love to see what Trevor does with our product, for sure.
Yeah, because, you know, as kids of the 80s, 90s, like part of it was having the world and these toys explained to us through comics and cartoons. And a lot of the folks don't quite have that capability right now yet. So what Trevor manages to do in like just a couple of stills is like help us understand these characters, tells a story with it, tells us the world they're living in, and just kind of captures your imagination. So I love that aspect, man.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, away from the Horsemen, let's move into these guys. I don't know if folks are familiar. It's a little toy line called Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and a new toy line coming up. Yeah, let's learn all about it. So again, shout out to Big Dub, who's been collaborating with all the toy companies. Again, the whole indie thing is all about collaboration. So you've got like a dude who's in the know about toys in general and just a hardcore collector like Dub. And then, you know, going to these shows, interviewing folks, and then collaborating with each of them. I love it. And again, thank you. I hope he doesn't mind me using his photos. But Spero Toys, indie toy line. You know, as folks know, I help out with the company and sort of help them with communications and marketing when I can. They were there You can see there's Adam, my buddy, highly articulated, working the booth along with Derek and Jason, who created who's behind Spero and created their first line, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. So they had some stuff on available for display, as well as a bunch of figures. I want to highlight here at the bottom, I just mentioned not everyone has like a comic book and a cartoon. And what I really love about this line is that it started really as a story in Jason's mind, right? He did that first Kickstarter for the comic book, and then he did a 3-inch, 4-inch line of these characters, and then wanted to go back and do some larger figures, and collaborated with Utama Prasta, whose artwork is all over these, and they produced the Primal series. So these guys, this shelf right here had a bunch of goodies that we'll take a look at in a second.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been pretty busy, but and I'll kind of gloss over these and I'll come back in details. But have you been able to follow the news lately, or you've been pretty?
Yeah. I saw these human counterparts, and I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I did read the story up to the last issue, but I don't know if maybe I missed it, but I guess there's some sort of human counterpart element to the storyline, so that's interesting, for sure.
Yeah, you didn't totally miss it. It wasn't like explicit, like it was embedded there. There was a couple of things going on in the comic book, and what you're seeing right here, folks, is issues 1 through 5, the first story arc, and these are all out now. We got some alt covers in here too, I think. Yeah, no, those are the main ones. But so folks here, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and they I get it. Like initially people thought it was this Planet of the Apes, this Thundercats. Those were the connection points, anthropomorphic animal warrior type things. You read the comic book, and the first couple pages, you realize that this is like humanity's future. We shock and awe, destroy the planet. We get into our AI piloted gigantic arc ships, put ourselves in stasis pods, right? Fall asleep until the AI finds us a suitable planet. AI wakes us up, drops us off on our new planet. It's carrying like all the DNA from Earth in it, and it actually judges us. It says, yo, I'm not going to drop you off on this planet and let you destroy this one too. Knowing your history and knowing the history of life on your planet, I'm going to blend your DNA with the DNA of other creatures from Earth that seem to understand how to live in balance with nature. So they blend us with, rhinos and elephants, apes, feral cats, giant cats or whatever. And that begins the story. So all the people that we see were originally humans that were whose DNA had been manipulated. The villain has access to, science, and has been tinkering, and you sort of see that villain go through some things where there are moments where he's like, whoa, is he looking kind of human? Like, what's going on? And his body transforms, and you're like, whoa. So it's not a big piece of the story. It's sort of in the background, and it's there. And they revealed this weekend that there will be human characters in this line at some point. And I don't know if you can all see that at the bottom. It says Human, Pale, and Blight. So this is the characters that we know of as Pale here on the left, the main hero in his human form. And this is Blight in his human form. I'm not going to spoil too much of the comic. It's worth reading. Comics right now, you want to download them digitally, are $2. I guess at the show they were $5, hard copy. Great story. Like, to me, this is like if we took an old 80s cartoon and gave it that 21st century spin, that story is there. But I just find it intriguing. I love the Awok buck. And so I love the idea of having human parts and human as well. Yeah. So I think it's a cool swerve. I'll be talking more about that later with the Geek Dad Life guys tonight, but I think it's a fun surprise. But putting that aside for a second, actually, let me see what folks are saying. JMax77, what's going on? Vaz, lots of great new figures coming out from Awok. Very exciting. Greed, Michael Casper, hello. Thank you for joining us. And folks are sort of sharing their love for the line. I am kind of curious how folks reacted. Like if there was confusion, there was some kind of little bit like, oh, I'm not sure about this, which I get. I hope, but then as I tell folks sort of the story, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. So we'll see where it goes. Christopher Bouchard likes the human blight. This gray dude looking like in Sabanur Apocalypse. Endless Fables. No, he's a big fan of the furry dudes, and I get that, but no, he understands. He knows what's up. He's great figures and comics. Totally worth it for $2 and $5 for a hard copy comics. I'm assuming that's what he means. Larry's Geeky World. They look great. Cool. Good to hear it. Clone Pale looks a little like Darkseid. Yes. So that would be Blight here. So if you're not picking up what Ray's dropping, there's some clone stories in there as well. Ray's saying, I like that they're human. I wish she would have went with Utama's designs from issue 1 for the human uniforms. Yes. So again, don't want to spoil too much of the story. Would love it if folks could get more access to it. Like, I think that's a lot of part of my summer work with AWOC is to try and figure out how we can get the story out there a little bit more. But I will just say that this, if you look at these two characters, this is very much the next story arc stuff. So this is this generation of, because Pale is pretty young, Pale and Blight. So they weren't around when the original humans landed. They were some of the first generation born on this planet. So what you're referring to is the humans that, their uniforms where they transformed. Maybe we'll see those. I would love to see them because they're very like spacesuity kind of thing. So, and Thanos is digging the plot for sure, but not sure if he's getting the humans. Get that. Again, the beauty of this stuff, there's so many great toys to grab out there. Pick and choose, just try one. Okay, aside from that, at Spero, I should move along. They did share this. So they also are working on, and these are Adam Drake's photos that I posted yesterday. They're working on a whole other new line. So this is actually licensed from Dan Mitchell, who is a sculptor on AWOC and a sculptor on like pretty much everything. So many of the things that we know out there, including a bunch of Hasbro stuff. But this is his own idea. And, showed it to Jason, and Jason loved it. And, they started talking about, would Spero produce them? So this is going to be the second toy line from Spero Toys called Bushido, Samurai, and Folklore by Dan Mitchell. And you can kind of see this was the first time that they actually shared the prototype. We weren't able to bring it out to Legions Con last time. And so he's a big fig. He is going to tower over the rest of the samurai. A lot of cool stuff going on there in terms of design and bringing in these Japanese oni elements, and all of the fur and the whole rope. No secret, Dan's a huge One Piece guy. Are you familiar at all with One Piece?
Yeah, I watched some episodes of the animated, and I was watching the live action on Netflix as well.
So in the live action and in the animated, you probably have seen Zoro, who is the dude with the katanas, the swords.
Yeah.
So there's an arc later called the Wano arc, which I'm in. I'm like, I just hit episode 1000 today, dude. Just 1,000 episodes. And the samurai stuff going on, and that is beautiful. And I know that some of that worked its way into the designs of these characters. Here's some more shots of him. I think he's looking amazing. Yeah, and I also know from him that he's really just thinking, he being Dan is really thinking about how these are going to move and how they're going to be built. So I don't think I'm really at liberty to share the details, but I know that he's constantly working on them. He's going to be doing some really interesting things with these figures that I'm excited to see happen in the sort of domestic indie toy space. So look out for that. And then, From the Realm is going to be all about monsters. You got a big old monster team in. Let me jump over here back to AWOC. This was the first time that we've been able to show that Merrill prototype in the wild, in real life, but also this is the first time we're seeing the actual finished sort of soft goods design by Eric Harker.
Very cool.
And yeah, I was intrigued by the tailoring on this thing. I think he's looking really good. Like, look at the way that hugs the body, and then you've got the big old puppy sleeves. I actually have been messing around. Oops, I don't even have it. But I've been messing around with soft goods over here. And man, it is not easy to achieve that level of tailoring, the way it shapes the body.
Yeah. No.
And so, yeah, Jason was telling me like that there's some challenges, right? They really had to figure out how do we, design this thing so it looks good under the armor, so that it looks good with the armor off, so that it's easy to take it on and off, so that folks who buy the stuff aren't either messing with the figure or messing with the soft goods. So it's complicated. You all are looking at soft goods for your line too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We had our preliminary prototypes at Toylanta. A lot of people are digging it.
Nice. So I think he's looking cool. I'm excited about that. We still have yet to see his bow, and I'm sure we'll be seeing that sometime soon in some of the updates over on Kickstarter. If the guy who handles that would get his act together, that's me. These we've seen before at Legion's Con. I think these are all looking good.
Yeah.
And then a lot going on is with these sculpts and the detail and everything. I'm really intrigued to see how they'll turn out. And then I mentioned Zorro. It's no secret that that's Dan's favorite character, period. Not just One Piece character, but so this one, little bit of a nod. He's got about 3 swords that he's carrying, and he's got a scar on his face. If you know, you know. But I'm excited to see that. And you mentioned this earlier. I heard you say, we're calling ourselves Monolith because we don't want to just be From the Realm. So that's long-term thinking, right? That someday dream of having multiple lines.
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep interspersing some From the Realm talk in between, and then we'll circle back and look at some stuff. But can I ask you, you don't have to tell me details, but do you already have ideas for other lines? Is that kind of how your brain works?
Put it to you this way. We're thinking can we get to the point where we can actually take on IPs?
Mm-hmm.
And
cool.
I'll throw it out there, and I don't know if anybody in the cyberverse that's watching right now might be privy to it, but something that was big for my growing up, and definitely for Eric Sosa, because he's Mexican born and everything, is I would love to do proper, hyper articulated, super detailed Chespirito, Chavo, Chapulín Colorado, that kind
of. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, yes.
Yeah. Because there's stuff out there. There's an animated type of take where they're minifigures and stuff, and I've been watching the kind of the documentary on HBO now. And that was me growing up. It was either I was watching Thundercats or Motu, or I was watching reruns of El Chavo del Ocho.
Yeah.
On Spanish TV. So that's got big nostalgia for me, and I'm surprised it hasn't been represented in the 112 format. Iron Studios has done an amazing job with their statues. I guess Chavo and Chespirito is really big in Brazil, but I feel like they definitely need some 112 love. So that's
I'm so happy that you're thinking in that way, dude. That is so cool, because there's a lot of stuff out there not just like, oh, the 80s stuff that we grew up here in the United States, but like internationally, there's pop culture everywhere. And there are fans that are just as nostalgic and hungry for that stuff. So that's dope. Come on, Monolith. Come on. All right. On that note, I mentioned that this was a license, a little bit internal license, but not really. Like Dan is his own person with his own creative brain, and I just love that about Jason. You mentioned community with the 4 Horsemen. Again, in that spirit, he's just like, dude, can I produce your line? Like you've been working with me, help me out. Can I help bring your line to life? I love that kind of just rising tides and all of that. Okay, let's move on real quick. I'll try and zoom through these. These are prototypes of figures that we've sort of seen before. The Void, we've got these guys. So definitely check that stuff out. And that's there. Let's move on from AWOC. We talked about these guys. Yeah, the humans. Yeah, humans. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm in it for the animals. So like, it was like, oh, it was a switch. But knowing the story, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, actually, let's look at some stuff real quick because folks are just talking AWOC real quick. Brian Carr said the soft goods of Merrill were amazing. Were meaning you went, Brian? If so, that's awesome. You got to see that in person, man. Absolutely great stuff, Ray. Cheers to Dan. That dude is awesome. Let's see. Yeah, the details on Merrill are looking fantastic. Don't worry about it. Fingers are fingers. Bushido, loving that people are interested. Thanos is interested. Charlie's super hyped on that. It sounds like loving the look of Bushido. Man, I love that. I'm so glad that people are into it. Hey, what's up, Travis? Listens live. Hey, man, you listen. I'm glad you're here. Finally, Bushido, he says. Yeah. I saw Jason do an interview. I think it was with Big Dub saying like, hey, we're showing these off. We really wanted these to be out and we want to move forward with them. But also like we did this big Kickstarter and unfortunately because of everything that's happening and, just sort of the production stuff that we highlighted in the Kickstarter, he just didn't feel right about like moving forward on this until like people have more of the AWOC figures in hand. So like that's, and, I think even if you wanted to, given all the what do you call this, backlog of stuff, it's just hard right now. And I think people need to understand that. Unfortunately, the way things are set up with the toy industry, as you know, because I know you're trying to launch this thing in this really awkward time, things are unstable. And what's happened is that production has had some starts and stops, which has led to this backlog and queuing. And some uncertainty as folks are like, oh, where are we going to go? Are we actually going to go into production with this or not? And the factories are. So unfortunately, it definitely has led to some delays for everyone. But we'll see actual Bushido figures soon enough. Brian Carr, going back to Zorro, / the Bushido character with 3 swords, does a sword fit in his teeth? If you know, you know. And I will just say that Dan loves that character, and I'll leave it at that. Endless Fable wants you to know that your soft goods are looking badass.
Thank you, sir.
Look at this. Here's Vaz. Oh, heck yeah, Chavo. It's going to be freaking awesome. My childhood nostalgia too.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Look at that. Chavo and the Tick crossover. Oh my God. It's amazing. Get some of those like sexy ice mantis and these other bug creatures in there.
The Tick and Chapulín would be an amazing tag team.
Amazing. Can't wait for the lizards. Hey, Lone Dragon is here. Someone should make street art, some street humans of some sort or something. Look at you always poking, Lone Dragon. And then Brian, being honest, he says, I told Jason humans are boring. I totally understand that vibe. Santos, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Figures look great. JMax77, major props to everyone in the toy industry at this difficult time. Thanks for fighting the good fight 100%. Hey, Jesse, Just Shelvit is here. Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for dropping in. Good to have you. Zio Adams, hello all the way from Italy. Good to see you. Okay. So yes, humans, yada, yada, yada. Let's move on. Big Dub, all again on the ground over at Joe Fest. Got to catch up with this toy production company, man. Between Big Bad Toy Store working with Operation Monster Force and all the stuff they're doing, then they're now calling their toy line their toy production arm, Big Bad Workshop, working with Fresh Monkey Fiction, right? Man, I was like typing it up in the notes, and it's just like, it's hard to even enumerate all the toy lines that are involved in these guys' world, between Longbox Heroes, and then, of course, that has all sorts of different IP within it. Eagle Force, Operation Monster Force, the Crimson Moon stuff. What else do we got? There's Travelers at some point coming out. They've just got a crap ton of stuff. And then they introduced this thing called the Atlas Project that I'm not totally familiar with. Just wanted to quickly show again, just you can see here, this is stuff from Monster Force. Again, let's talk about collab real quick. Collabing with Gridiron Studios on their weapons. And then they've got this crazy Gridiron Phalanx. Have you been looking at that thing at all, or seen that thing?
I think it was just revealed here, no?
I don't know. They've had it online, but probably this is the first time that it's been out in the wild. I hadn't even seen the all black version, so that's kind of cool. My brother's actually going to grab one, and it's not a cheap thing, but it's pretty damn beautiful, and I think it's the perfect like representation of what's possible now with toys, because these guys are, one, indie, but two, they're producing it, not doing injection molding. They are 3D printing this thing and putting it together, and that's wild to me. They do really quality stuff. So there's that. Some more Operation Monster Force stuff, and then here's the Crimson Moon. Just like looking at the variety that they've got going on that they're looking to produce. Obviously, the Operation Monster Force, I think it's only been wave 1 so far, so stuff will slowly be coming out. They've been doing Eagle Force forever, but in different scales. Monsters, that's something that you're interested in. What do you think of like this current? It seems like there is a renewed interest in the action figure community around horror, including this and things like Cursed Dead. How do you look at that as a person who's looking to do monsters? Is that like, is that hard? Is that, oh no, now like
I think it's a completely different wheelhouse, because although it incorporates monsters and lore, I think they're like the collector group they're catering to, or they're targeting, is more like those G.I. Joe type collectors, because what they're doing is they're militarizing monsters. So they're making zombie monsters and task force led by vampires and stuff like that. And at the same time, what's like ingenious, what they've done is they've come up with alternative methods of getting characters that big conglomerates refuse to make, iterations of specific characters that we can just do quick pop and swap and make someone into something that you've always wanted.
Yes.
So super genius with that, in that respect. But yeah, like as far as, I think there's definitely a lot of space in this world for what we're doing and what they're doing to coexist. To be completely frank, Toylanta was very telling and very surprising for me and Carlos, because Big Bad Workshop was there, and they approached our table on 2 occasions, and they love what we're cooking, and they talked to us about a lot of stuff that unfortunately there were semi conversations done before the whole tariff thing spun out, and that's I'll leave it at that. But yeah, there, like I said, there's definitely a lot of real estate and space to work on both of these lines, and to cater to different collectors' wants and needs. Like here, perfect example. How you've got a James Bond kind of generic character. You got like secret agents, generic characters. Blended in to those kind of lines. So
Yep.
you're filling in a lot of little check boxes that have
Yep.
not been checked in existing toy lines.
You're 100% right about that. And like, you're mentioning sort of characters that no one else is going to do. Like there are some heads here that if you put on a body, you could simulate a, Dr. Quest kind of thing from Johnny Quest. There are characters in some of these other, like you said, James Bond characters. There's stuff in here that approximates what's going on with the Hellboy movie. Maybe, we got heads in here that look very familiar, whether it's a General Ross or so it's cool. I hear you. And again, to go back to the foundation of what we said earlier for Horsemen and the pop and swap, people are very mindful about what's happening right now in the toy space. Is like one of these new play sort of like modes is customizing your figures and popping them on, popping them off, and building and creating your own world, as well as maybe creating worlds of figures, as you say, that like we aren't getting from the companies who won't hold the IP. So maybe we want to have some way of representing that on our shelf. It's all cool. And I didn't miss what you said about conversations with folks there. I will say the Big Bad Workshop folks, like they're the same people as the Big Bad Toy Store. Obviously, they're fans. Like they want to see action figures do well. Folks have wondered, like, man, they're getting in and they're selling figures. Is that weird conflict? It's like, no, I mean, there's plenty of toys to go around, right? And space to do that. And in many ways, they're helping make toys happen that could have used that support, right? And we've seen them do that time and again with like real support of a bunch of indie lines. So I'm glad to hear that you all are talking and that they're really intrigued by what you're doing. I think that's great. And just flipping through real quick, you all can kind of see what's going on. Come on, man.
Love those fresh monkeys.
Come on. Yeah. And then this is a whole new thing that I don't know too much about. This Project Atlas guy, this gigantic guy. He doesn't have like Operation Monster Force sort of like tag
it's
on it.
basically like a blank that you
okay.
can either make your Hulk or your Hulk-ish kind of character and paint them whichever they're gonna have a gray, they're gonna have the skin tone. I think they're gonna have like a black. I think they're gonna have a green. So it's just one of those things where they're giving you blanks, so you can make stuff.
And so, on the one hand, I want to surface something that Ray brought up here, which I totally understand. Where was it, Ray? Sorry, I don't do the star feature very well, but he was saying Fresh Monkey Fiction and Big Bad Workshop should stop putting things up. Should stop putting up new things for pre-order and concentrate on the stuff they already had for pre-order. For like this, they're just showing stuff that a lot of the stuff isn't up for pre-order, but I get that vibe, right? Same with AWOC earlier. Let's be real. Like, and it's kind of why Jason addressed it. He's just like, man, we've got so much stuff out there and people are waiting for figures. And I get that sentiment. It's like, hey, give us the stuff first before you pre-order, have us pre-order new things. But, to go back to the Four Horsemen, if you're a Four Horsemen collector, kind of the cycle and the pattern that's been established, right? And I will say it's very 21st century way of buying toys where we're not going to the shops and hunting for these things because a lot of these people don't, these are lines that aren't carried at your store. We've gotten used to buying online. And with Four Horsemen in particular, I'm receiving stuff that I ordered a couple years back. And people are like, man, that's a long wait. Well, it is, except for I just got stuff before that that I ordered prior. Like it becomes like this just steady wave of stuff coming in. Yeah. And it has become kind of the new way of doing things. And you as an indie toy person probably know this more than the rest of us, but you guys don't have the capital to throw out a production schedule and just fund it yourself purely and then have it all ready to go to sell to people and then take that money. Like it doesn't kind of work that way. You have to have this constant production cycle. And as you pointed out earlier, things are made years ahead sometimes. And so like the idea of completely footing all that money without selling, it's hard. So I get why they do it, but I also understand the frustration where folks are like, hey man, we haven't seen a lot of your figs yet. it's that balance. Is that something that you've considered with From the Realm and have to sort of think about how you handle it?
No, I mean, I think once our first Kickstarter funds and we move forward, we're definitely, I'm going to be in the mentality of I kind of want to follow sort of in the footprints of the Four Horsemen, where rather than like one campaign a year and you're waiting like a year and a half, 2 years, I want to do something where there's like mid-year drops, and things like that. So it's all really going to depend on the consumer and the support we get, to see how often and how, how often we'll be offering, different new product. Hopefully, what I would like to do at the least is maybe one major wave a year, maybe two. And definitely I want to do a Halloween drop. I want to have something that you can pre-order in October and it's in stock. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just, but the nice, I don't know, nice or what. So again, I understand Ray's point, but the interesting thing is, like, if you're buying a lot of these indie toys, we've already sort of been trained to the new way of purchasing toys. So when you do that, like, it's not something people will be unfamiliar with, versus imagine trying to do that like 8 years ago and you're like, hey guys, give me the money now. And they're coming eventually. Like, there's a little bit of training involved, right? And familiarity. And now you're here. I agree with Ryan Clark. Yeah, man, you can't sneeze at a brain in a jar. Ryan's chiming in. I think people are getting used to new figures from the big companies, which are revealed when the production is in the final stages. Indie companies have to get the ball rolling way earlier. Exactly, right? Hasbro is like, hey, check out this thing. It'll be coming in a couple months. Or McFarlane's like, hey, check out this thing. You can buy it now. And folks just don't have, the capital. But Ray, I totally get it. He's saying hopefully it isn't a huge offering. I think when there's too much stuff on a Kickstarter, it takes a long time to fund. Just my observations. And again, I hear you in those observations. You're observing them because they are happening. You're not wrong at all. All right, real quick, let's finish up with these guys because they've got a lot, but here's just some more stuff that they showed. And I just wanted to highlight some of there's the Project Atlas stuff. Sorry, I should full stop, breathe, moving on. We've seen some of that, but what I wanted to share was, where is it? It's here. God, these figures they're gorgeous too, man. That's a lot of Arlen's work. Just great stuff. Arlen, who works with Hasbro, is working on the Space Zombies and Wars of the Kingdom. Giant. This. Oh, by the way, earlier you mentioned like characters that these companies won't touch. Folks, like this guy here with the red cloak and the machine gun is straight up from an old G.I. Joe comic back in the day. Love that. Like, Hasbro's not going to make that. And then there's this. And obviously his glasses are a little bit wonky in this picture. But Big Bad Workshop is also, and Fresh Monkey are working on nostalgic lines too. They've secured the license for Cops and Crooks. So it's a wild time. It's a wild time. To go back to your point about looking at other IP that you could maybe eventually do as Monolith is super cool. But that's all. Just wanted to share that stuff. Let's go move on to another company. And I'm going to move a little quicker. This is no diss to these other companies, but I want to talk From the Realm. But speaking of realms, here's Realm Toys. I know, not to be confused, but Brutal Realm. These guys are awesome. I know you've been talking with them, and the other great thing, like in a different world, you're competitors, but also you guys are collaborating all the time and talking, right? Like you were sharing that you were talking with these guys too about stuff, and Spero, it's just a thing. Like, why not, right?
I did a design for these guys.
That's right.
That will eventually probably become a figure. So.
That's so cool, man. That is too cool. I love it. I love their display. They're, they are they're hitting the road and they're like figuring out what they're doing. They were sharing some of that stuff last time in terms of how they want to like up their display game. Like they're in that same weird spot that a lot of companies are right now with the tariffs, with a bunch of folks trying to go to these different factories, and that like things are a lot slower than they had anticipated when they started off. But development in-house still is happening. You can kind of see they've figured out some of the other figures, like you can kind of see them going on here, and they continue to tweak. And like this guy we didn't see early on, we didn't even see, we just saw renders, and people were like, looks great, Killian looks great, take my money. And now we kind of actually see what they look like. I love the teasing of these beasts here, because the beast realm is sort of going to be coming at some point. You can see these guys, one of their blank bucks, but they're all looking really cool. And again, I'm just shout out to the Realm Toys guys, James, Jason. They're doing great work, and I can't wait to see these figures. I say I can't wait figuratively because I can wait. I'm a patient boy. So cool. And then these guys, Harbinger.
I just got my this guy's so awesome right here.
Oh man,
the Jaeger. The fact that he can hold this crossbow like that, like they really want, you could tell they put a lot of love and research into getting the articulation to work, where they can hold the weapons properly. It's not like slipping off and stuff like that. And then soft goods. It's just such a good figure. This one and Warrior Ball and Chain are the two that I picked up from that particular wave. And I got a couple of the other ones from the third wave that are coming up.
So this Kickstarter happened years ago, and they kickstarted 3 waves, and we got wave 1 about a year ago, and then we are just now getting wave 2. You got yours like the last couple weeks?
Yeah, like a Monday.
Mine arrived Friday at the school that I work at, which is closed. So it's gonna be a back to school gift.
Oh wow!
Which is fine, because like truth be told, I know I probably wouldn't actually open it for a while, but they were able to share some of those as well as some other upcoming figs. Man, again, people stepping it up with their display. Look at this beautiful booth. They had those wave 2 figures on hand. Like there's that Warrior with Ball and Chain.
He's amazing.
I know you were recently at Monster Palooza, and we'll take a look at those pics in a little bit, but you had a nice little dio to show off your stuff. Again,
mobile dio.
It's what we were saying with Trevor's work. Like it really helps create the world for us and help us understand these figures in a fun way, an imaginative way. So notice like all the different worlds they're putting in the different figures. The wave 2s are here. They've got the Death Dealer in his own cool looking little.
Incredible. Can't wait for that one.
And you would think that like there's a lot of different people making toys, and we've looked at a bunch, and sure there's a lot, but like I'm not bored. I'm not bored. Like, and as folks have said, I can't buy it all, but just looking at this stuff and admiring it, man, I'm just intrigued by all the cool things people got going on.
Absolutely.
From the fast couple of lines, what are some things that some things that you're seeing, whether it's Spero, Harbinger, Realm Toys? Are there things that they're doing that is like feeding your ideas, inspiring you?
Surprisingly, you haven't mentioned them yet, but there's a current Kickstarter, World War Hell.
Yes,
very, very in that wheelhouse of that mentality of hitting the nostalgia. I absolutely love what they did with the packaging, where it's like an old VHS tape rental, and they even got like the Toys R Us nods on the price stickers, and it's just, you could tell that those guys are all about the nostalgia, man, because they have such awesome. It's just like O-ring is not my thing, This is one of those toy lines that I love from afar. I might still pick up one or two just to keep in package and to support these dudes. But um, it's ingenious. It's awesome, and it's bringing back that love for the O-ring, which is mostly harkens and takes its origins from GI Joe, obviously.
Yep.
So if you're a child of the '80s, you know about O-rings, but just the presentation, the marketing behind this, the packaging. The packaging is genius, dude.
I'm with you, man. I'm going to be talking with these guys this Tuesday in 2 days.
Awesome.
Doing a special Tuesday night show with them. And it's going to be great. I'm with you. I'm not an O-ring guy. But I'm everything that they're doing in terms of design, like you said, the nostalgia, like, look at this. So first off, you mentioned their packaging. They got this whole like Blockbuster video thing going on, which is cool. They've got the tags that are very Toys R Us, but each one is like packaged as if it's its own like sort of figure. Own movie, B movie. So this guy is one of the characters, and they've got the full-on movie standee like display, man.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I think it's super smart and just incredibly fun. So I'm looking forward to these, just like you. I'm glad you brought that up, man. There you go. If folks aren't familiar, there's all the figures. So tune in on Tuesday. I'll be talking with those guys. They'll be here in the Brick Something studio. Sorry, that's hilarious. We'll be online and we'll be talking, and we'll go through all this. But I'm so glad that you name check them, and that they're inspiring you, because I hear you.
Yeah.
Have you already thought about your packaging?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have.
I love it, man.
And we've shared information about it. We haven't had any final packaging art done, but the whole idea of the way we're spinning the marketing on From the Realm is that instead of being waves, they're volumes. So the whole concept behind that is that as you collect this toy line, and hopefully it goes for a long time, you'll eventually, amass a library of these old looking books that you could put on a shelf. And so, even if you're not a mint and box guy, you might become one with this line, because you're like, dude, this looks so awesome. It looks like I have a library of books. But then when I pull it out, there's this badass figure inside. So
I love it. It looks like I can read. No, yeah, totally. I think that's awesome, man. So good. I love it. And yes, so shout out to Grindhouse. Let's go backwards a little bit and let's talk. Let's go here, since we were kind of in that O-ring world. Delta 17, Ken, Steve doing their thing at the show. Huge booth.
That's a really big booth, yeah.
Which is, I get it. Totally makes sense. Joe Fest is big for them. It's very sort of military GI Joe centric. These very much are like modern, real American hero figures. They slot right in with your Joes, but also like are their own world with a real like fleshed out lore and everything. There's a comic book. So shout out to them. They're doing some great stuff. Cool Dio. Again, not my thing. I'm not an O-ring guy at this point, but I really do appreciate this. And I know there are a bunch of hardcore O-ring folks and a hardcore military toy folks. Check out Delta 17. They had their exclusive stuff available. And then they introduced this guy, the Hailstorm, sort of like little mech tank thing.
Very cool.
5x5 is their toy company name. 5x5 Toys, producing this first line. And Mega J Retro, your buddy, who you're on with all the time, was there, hanging out. Probably much warmer than he's used to down in Georgia. But yeah. So it's cool, man. We're getting indie toys in all shapes and sizes. We're getting creatures from Creative Beast Studios. Love these guys. Look at the big old monsters, beautiful dinosaurs, colors. God, look at that. That makes me so happy inside. And then they're going sci-fi with their Cyberzoic line. So that I wish I was there to see these displays alone, man. But I guess we'll wait till Legion's Con, where we'll all kind of reunite and just check out each other's stuff. Look at that.
For sure.
So shout out to them, man. They make such quality stuff. This right here is a newer thing that we haven't seen yet. So there's a prototype, non-articulated prototype. It's cool stuff. It's just a really great time to be in action figures. And then I believe this will end up being our last company, if I'm remembering. Yeah. Yep. Ramen. So Ramen has really, been an established name, and they've been working on a bunch of different things, including, kind of some gray area IP stuff, right? So they've got this sewer thing that people might be able to live in. They've got vehicles that transform and maybe fly. They've got marshals from the future and, flying people. But yes, if you're into the aviations, Ace of Aviation, which might feel familiar if you like movies like Top Gun, let's say, the Marshal, straight up, that's their tribute to the Brave Star. This was the new reveal. The sort of colored, fully decked out 3-0. And they brought in some more of the Machina stuff, probably one of the last pieces, the shark. And then all in this guy. I just love this custom version of what someone did with their bread van. Cool. This was Gun Bunny Customs. Beautiful. It's meant to be the Cold Slither tour van.
That's awesome.
So, and then these things, man, the classified adjacent, I guess, or compatible Wolverine, or I'm forgetting what that was the G.I. Joe name, and then the sort of desert tank, not the Mobat, but I'm forgetting now. But this stuff is cool. Like, again, we're getting vehicles, we're getting dinosaurs, we're getting monsters, we're getting soldiers, we're getting it all. We're getting animal warriors that look like humans. It's just crazy. Getting like a Tron looking tank. So shout out to everybody doing some really great work. But is there anything you thoughts on Ramen or any of the things that we've gone through? I kind of went through a lot there.
For me, dude, I'm like a huge Scooby-Doo fan. So they had their Mystery Machine tribute.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what they called it. But that I'm planning on picking up because I definitely want to get the Scooby-Doo figures from Jada. So I think I'm gonna have to pick up that Mystery Machine adjacent bread van.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking custom. I'm forgetting who they collaborated with to do that. But it's got this whole like post-apocalyptic vibe to it too, or zombie apocalypse kind of vibe to it too, which is kind of neat. Folks are feeling it. The Top Gun figures look interesting. Those are, if you got to mess with the Marshall, I got a Marshall and I love their build. Again, I haven't said this yet, but not only are people making action figures, but people are experimenting with engineering and articulation and how they can mix different materials. And it's really, really cool to see. All right, dude. Let's see. Let's move on to these guys. What you know about From the Realm, man?
Yeah.
That's you. And maybe I'm running out of memory or something, but it looks like the fonts are weird. But anyway, From the Realm, this is you. Or it might be because I've squished this screen way too small. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay, From the Realm, who you should be following right now, young folks, from_the_realm. This is your toy company. And you and I talked in November. And thank you again, you and Carlos, for pulling me aside and being like, hey, we want to show you some stuff. And man, that was one of the highlights of that weekend, being able to take a look at your prototypes and all the work that you're doing. And man, I felt like so happy for you and of course toy fans, but just like, man, they're making toys. And you're not just making toys. What I saw that night, I was like, you're making some amazing looking toys that like I know people want. Can you give people the pitch? What is From the Realm?
Yeah.
And I'll go as far back so we can look at some of those early stuff.
So essentially, From the Realm is basically what I'm thinking about is each monster lore, whether it's vampires, werewolves, demons, gillmans, any creature you could think of. We want to explore those types of creatures in the sense of the realms that they inhabit. So the first wave that we're doing is From the Realm, and it's basically from the shadows. So From the Shadows is going to be essentially anything and everything that could live in the shadows. So we are focusing and honing in mainly on vampires. And just dropping a little hint here. In our first Kickstarter, we may or may not have other types of entities that are not vampires. So just the way we thought out of this universe is, we got From the Shadows as volume 1. Like I told you before, the whole concept is that we're going to break up these things into volumes rather than waves. We're not going to name the figures. So we're not going to call it, Count whatever, Dracula, whatever. We're going to be calling these, right. So we're going to have like volumes, and then each figure is chapter. So we're going to have volume 1, From the Shadows. Chapter 1 is one of our first offerings. Chapter 2 is our second offering. Chapter 3, and so on and so forth. So that's how we're presenting the product. And the reason we're doing that is because there are endless possibilities for this line. These are male vampires, as we can see. We obviously have to tackle females. So we have to leave that world open for those types of possibilities. There's all sorts of different iterations, interpretations, takes, designs of vampires that have been both introduced in film or maybe in graphic novels and RPGs and video games. So we want to explore all this and at the same time take some creative liberties and tweak things and change things to our our design and our vision. But yeah, essentially, that's how all this started. And that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be like the typical toy line where it's here's the brand name and here's wave 1 and here are the characters. They are actually named. We might delve a little bit into a background, but we're not going to have like specific character bios. We want to do something where it's like these particular entities, kind of touch on it a little bit, but not really go into this whole huge narrative because I feel like it's such a big world that we don't want to get too lost in that. Not to say that we're completely alienating that option, but eventually we could probably revisit and maybe do a comic or something like that. But I want to focus more on the realm of possibilities, just having people feel like,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, if this is
the realm of possibilities. Sorry,
yeah,
yes.
What could happen in volume 2? What could happen in volume 5? You know what I mean? So yeah, we didn't want to limit ourselves. We didn't want people falling in love with a specific character because of their backstory or things like that. So as a collector and being a critique myself, like just looking at things from the outside in, I look at things that I want to avoid that maybe other toy companies have done, learning from other people's mistakes, checking boxes that haven't been checked. We've mentioned it before where we would love to, introduce certain iterations of characters that have never been realized in a toy form,
Yeah.
So we're definitely looking into those possibilities. At Toylanta, we had kind of like a world premiere of some of those new portraits that we are going to be offering One of them was this guy here, and you could see it in the Instagram too. But
oh yeah.
so this is like our definitive kind of classic Drac.
I'll try and get to him. He's a little further up, but I did want to just name that when I was referring to us hanging out in Legions Con, this was that time period, and this is what you had up in the room, and I was just like, what? When is this guy doing all this? And getting a team together. Here he is. So this is early take on that the head that you just showed us.
Yeah. And that takes big inspiration from the classic Marvel comics design of Dracula. I just want to make figures that nobody has done yet. Like there's for example here, Count Barlow,
this is beautiful.
Yeah, Noah Pratt, anything posable, has been doing our paint masters, and he's just absolutely crushing it with the paint applications, and really just kind of doing what I've creatively art directed him to do. He's just nailing it left and right. As a matter of fact, right now Noah has 2 prototypes. He has the Bat Beast, which is our deluxe offering, and he has our Renfield creature in hand. So he's going to be painting those next. And really exciting news, we are actually going to be at Comic-Con next month.
Oh, nice. And okay.
This came out of nowhere, dude, because, I'll talk about Monsterpalooza next, but I was super excited because I went to Monsterpalooza. We had a whole thing planned for Monsterpalooza. Monsterpalooza was supposed to be the rollout of the Kickstarter. We were going to have a table. Carlos was going to join me.
I didn't realize that the original plan was to roll it out there. Okay, gotcha.
But because of the climate right now with tariffs and stuff, we decided to take a back seat. It's kind of both a blessing and a curse, because had we been in the mid-production phase, it would have spelled financial disaster for Carlos and I, because just hitting all that extra money on the back end, we really dodged a bullet there. So I feel like it was kind of good timing. I hate to say that, but it was good timing in the sense that we had not launched, we had not made any financial big commitments yet. So we just decided to hold off and wait, and here we are. And Monsterpalooza, what I decided to do was a little good guerrilla marketing, and I borrowed the idea from our buddy Brandon from 9 to 5 Warriors. He did an awesome thing where he had this backpack, and he was walking around San Diego Comic-Con, and he had this diorama that resembled the inside of a freezer in a refrigerator, and he had all his 9 to 5 Warriors displayed in there. And my buddy Elmer, Bodega Joe Dios, I told him, hey man, I have this idea. Do you think you can spin it? So I bought the backpack on Amazon. I sent it to him. He got the dimensions, and he created this. He did this whole diorama. It's like the inner sanctum of the vampire.
And that would be this one.
There. Yeah. And he made it so that I could display 3 figures side by side. I was able to display the Renfield creature in there as well. We had some technical difficulties. It was crazy, man, because this thing, to send it from the Bronx, New York to my house, it was in such a big box to protect it and everything, that when we did the quoting, it was like $140 for USPS priority mail. I told Elmer, hold off, let me check UPS. I checked UPS, and then it was like 120, I think, or something like that. No, it was like $100. So I said, well, you know what? Let me just ship it directly to the hotel in Pasadena. And that's what I ended up doing. And it came out to like $75. So it worked out really good. But timing wise, it was crazy, because I got there on Friday and it arrived 30 minutes after my arrival. But I had to do a lot of assembly. I had to put the prototypes together, put them in the backpack. Then the lighting elements weren't working. You could see there's one torch lit up, but the other lighting element, it
I
failed.
see.
The cables went undone. So I decided on Friday, I did a preliminary walk through the show, but
Mhm.
I didn't have the backpack. I didn't have anything. Then I spent all Friday evening setting this thing up. And then I
Okay.
walked on Saturday. I spent the whole Saturday walking Monster Palooza up and down wearing this backpack. It was kind of interesting and on a learning curve because
Uh,
I had just this, what you see here. I had no logo. I had no
sure.
QR code. I did
Sure.
have some of the bookmarks left over from Toy Lanta, and I was handing those off to people and then talking about the campaign and everything. But I was told that a lot of people were taking pictures of me from behind, but
Oh,
they
wow.
weren't approaching me. It was almost like, oh, cool costume. Oh, whatever that is on his backpack, that's cool. But I guess they didn't know, hey, this is an upcoming toy line potential Kickstarter kind of thing.
So like put
So,
sign, like you said, signage maybe, or like, hey, check
right,
out these new toys.
right.
Live and
So,
learn, but the
yeah. So
exposure
for
was there.
Comic Con, I'm taking the backpack again. This
Okay.
time I'll have a logo sticker on it. I'm going to have a QR code in the front so people can scan it as they look at it and follow and learn as they go along. But um, going back to Comic Con, our buddy Mega J is having a panel about Flip War,
Yep.
and he was like, "Hey, if you guys can make it, you guys are totally invited to participate in the panel and
That's
talk about
fantastic.
From the Realm."
Nice.
So Carlos and I were like, absolutely. And at first, it was just going to be Carlos. But then my wife was like, look, I think we can hack it. My mom can watch the girls, and I think you should definitely do it. So
Nice.
I'm tagging along as well. So it's going to be me and Carlos at San Diego Comic Con talking about From the Realm at a panel in San Diego Convention Center proper, not off site.
That's
So
awesome, man.
yeah, I'm super stoked, super excited. We're working on some stuff to have definitely some new things to reveal. Because a big show like that, I got to definitely take advantage of the opportunity. So we're gonna have some new stuff to show, some new paint masters, new sculpts. We're working on a lot of stuff right now.
I love that, man. I shout out to the gorilla thing. Like you said, live and learn. But I think this is really cool. Um, I would, I'd be nervous, but I think it's such a great idea. Like things shaking and stuff, but you seem to have figured it out. I think it's a really, really solid idea. And the panel, that's huge, man. I think that's really great. And I'm glad that there's going to be that Flip or one. It sounds like there's going to be a couple of cool indie toy panels happening there, which again, I think is just another signal of like how awesome this like thing that is happening right now in action figures
Absolutely.
is. It's just expanding, and that SDCC is, I think, the place to be for that. Of course, I know it's hard to get attention and all the noise that's happening there, but even the fact that you're there, that you'll have this panel that probably will live on, between you or Mega J, I'm sure we'll be able to see it. People start to associate, oh, wait, SDCC, all this cool action figure stuff. I think it's great, man. And people here are definitely appreciating what you're doing. I think it was, what did I see? KJ here. First off, wait, where is it? Your man bat, the one that you had sort of like the purples and the greens, the concept art early on.
Yeah.
I know Zia was feeling that. He and I have talked colors. I know that's just sort of a concept, but it did look really cool. And there are clearly people who appreciate it. Thanos loves what you're doing. And then, hey, what's up, Ronald? Good to see you. KJ was saying these look dope. Sorry, KJ, I was about to try my best version of your accent, but I couldn't. But yes, these do look dope, and people are, KJ, Endless. Brian was saying, KJ, those are amazing in person, and you've got some amazing options.
Thank you.
This one I love. David Salinas, he's saying he was getting bored of vampires, but you guys pulled him back in, and these look amazing. I totally understand that, and I really appreciate how you've been able to like remind us how cool vampires are and show us all these different ones. I love it. you actually teased something that I want to get to on your Instagram that you told me about back in like December, whenever it was that we talked. Let me see if I can bring it back here to the Instagram. So that's awesome. You're doing it at Monsapalooza. Where did I pull the blonde-haired mulleted guy? Where was that?
It's on the IG, but I actually have the prototype here.
Ooh. Let me see if I can find. Is it a little further? Oh, here he is.
Right there. So that's obviously a digitally painted render.
Yeah.
Once again, amazing work from our collaborator and partner Eric Sosa. And I have to throw a super shout out to Sebastian Dominguez, art of Sebadam. He has been like the anchor of the success, like of everything, because he worked under pressure, like sleepless nights and stuff, getting stuff ready for us for Legion's Con, getting stuff ready for me for Monsterpalooza. Engineering wise, he did, I would say, 80% of our bat beast creature. Eric Sosa did the head portrait, but Sebas did all the fur, the texturing, the engineering, the way we're going to do the articulation. He has been golden. I want to say almost like, it's Eric, me, and Carlos, but Sebas is like technically like the fourth horseman when it comes to our group. You know what I mean? And
Sebas, for folks who aren't familiar, has done a ton of parts for custom
Mythic
parts
Legions.
for Mythic Legions, but then Fury Planet and Maestro Union. That's his sort of art baby, and he's doing some really great stuff with that. It's amazing that you all are working with him, and that he's been able to play such a helpful role in getting this stuff. This guy, is quintessential 80s vampire goodness, but again, your own take. Like I love the sort of art direction that you're taking with him, and he looks really, really cool. The idea was these would be heads that you could use on that sort of main vampire body that we're seeing.
Correct.
Right?
There's going to be a head pack. So this is one of the various heads that will be available in the head pack. And obviously, we know that there's likeness rights and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted to avoid any type of hiccups or problems. So what I did with this design when I was concepting it out is I incorporated elements of a Deadite from Army of Darkness and from, Evil Dead, and meshed that together with the likeness of David from the film. So it's not 100% David. It's more like the mullet, spiky hair, the blonde aspect, but then you could look at more like an Evil Dead kind of look, like if there was a zombie vampire, in Evil Dead and stuff like that. So I think it came out incredible. Eric totally nailed my view and my idea, and he just really fleshes out these ideas that I have, because I give him 2D stuff and he just pours like 3D gold over it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just incredible, man.
Yeah, it's really great, man. And I really, really, I can't wait for these to show up. Let me see what else. And then you did send some stuff over, and so a little bit. Oops, I don't.
And if you want, I have the head portrait here.
Yeah, if we could take a look at that. Yeah.
So this is actually.
Oh wow! And what body are you? Just temporarily? Oh, Khazar.
This is a Khazar head body.
Yeah.
That we basically used it at Toylanta. Surprisingly, this head popped on the ball peg for the Khazar body really well.
Could you get a side view and like see what's going on with his full-on mullet glory? Curious, since you got a Legends there, scaling, are you thinking like height-wise for this to slot in, and sort of head size to slot in with something more like a Legends? Or
to answer that question a
Mm-hmm.
little more clearly, let me
bring something up. Cool.
Let me put together this prototype.
Thank you for bringing this stuff today, man, and sharing it with folks.
No,
I love
thank
it.
you for having me on. And, for all the love and support, man. You guys have always been so helpful and so supportive, in this social world,
Yeah.
just
Hell
spreading the
yes.
word out, Um,
I
right.
love creative folks, man. I love it. People, inspired
So what
folks.
you
Here
see
we
on
go.
screen there, I actually have
Oh,
him here.
this here. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Ugh. Would you say that this is representing like a
This
figure that the
is
body type that you would like to go with if you could
correct.
go right
This
now?
is like our pre-production ready final body. So the articulation is in place. It was 3D printed and assembled, so it's pretty loose. The joints are pretty loose. He
Hmm.
can stand on his own, as you can see in the pictures, but it takes a little bit of finagling.
I'm
But
sure.
what you were mentioning is, let me see if I can do this side by side. So here we have
Okay.
the Khazar body and our vampire. So you can see
Got
it's
it.
slightly taller.
Uh-huh.
I want to say maybe like probably about an inch taller than a Legends figure. Just given that this is a vampire, it's a creature, uh, it's an inhuman type of creature. So we want him to have a little bit more of a height to him. It just gives the little more of the creepy vibe
Hmm.
aspect. But yeah, the way this thing moves, man. I mean, you can see in the pictures I sent you, you can pull off so many incredible dynamic poses. Whoops. You can see it's like very, very loose. I got to work on getting some sort of, I don't want to use crazy glue, but I got to use some sort of
Yeah.
technique to tighten the joints. I have bought something that's kind of like
Yeah.
cakey, which is like that loose tightening joints formula, but I
Yeah.
bought like a Chinese knockoff one and it didn't quite work. So hoping to get that fixed because I want to take this working prototype to San Diego so people could see how it moves and everything. But essentially the idea is this is our buck body, right? So
Got it. Yep.
this is our 1.0 buck body. And with the exception of the Bat Beast, this is going to be the core body and function and articulation that we're going to incorporate across the first Kickstarter campaign, with, of course, alternate heads, alternate costumes, alternate colorways, and alternate accessories.
Hmm. I love it. Chilling on that Vampirella
Yeah.
die. Was so perfect. Yeah, no, the movement looks really great. I was sort of exploring a little bit about what you've all got going on. These shoulders and the butterfly, the neck moves at the base, right?
The abdominal area is crazy
This.
because I could show you this prototype that we had at Toylanta, which is like a translucent blue. Um, I will not confirm nor deny that this is probably something that will happen, but
Okay.
um, I want you to see the specifics where we came up with the idea of doing a ball socket
Uh-huh.
um, waistline rather than just a swivel. So it gives a little more range of motion. We still have an ab crunch, and we also have
Nice.
another ball and socket at the upper torso. So
Oh, okay.
a
Yeah.
lot,
Good.
there's a lot of range of movement in just that area of the body.
Yeah, you doubled up with the ab crunch and the top thing with
Yeah.
that ball. That's cool.
We want this thing to touch as closely as possible to like human movement. You know what I mean? So
Uh-huh,
really
uh-huh,
pull
uh-huh.
off those poses.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You've done so much work since you shared what you shared with me in November and the rest of us. And so it looks like that, yeah, you guys are really tooling up something special and well worth the wait, man. And unfortunately, I know you wanted to be moving faster, but again, this is just what's happening in the world right now. We're
Yeah, I
looking
think
at
everything happens for a reason, man.
sure.
Like I was telling Carlos, at first, I'm not gonna lie, they had like a little bit of a breakdown because
Hmm.
I came back from Atlanta on such a high from
Hmm.
certain conversations I had, certain feedback that I received, specifically the people that showed interest in our product. Carlos and I came back like, wow, we're winning. This is going to be amazing. And then Liberation Day happened, and that really like spun me out and bummed me the hell out. And but I just kind of caught myself and said, you know what, I'm going to kind of pivot and see if this can't happen right now. How can we make it even better so when it does happen, we really wow our customer base, maybe work on some stuff that we hadn't had time to work on because we had a certain target date, and also have a back end option. And that's when I started 3D sculpting, something that it's originally was the birth of this toy line, which was the original kind of chibi kind of designer vinyl style of monsters that I had made. So I started fleshing out this Gillman creature that I drew on my iPad almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, I wanted to see. That was a while back here. It was like the green. I love that piece of art. When we did that recording a while back, I remember stopping on that. Like here, where was it? I don't think it's later, but it was just so cool to see like your art and the evolution of your art and how you're just like, yes, I'm working on this vampire, but there's this other creature, but also like different art style that you're working on. And I'm really into your stuff. Is it still here? Or
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just trying to find
I don't think I put it in from the room because
that's right.
Since
I think it was in
your.
your.
We were going.
That's right. I remember now. It was on your thing. So you had, that's fine. But I'll go ahead and show what you sculpted up because it sounds like you're in the process of talking about how quote unquote Liberation Day. Yeah, don't we feel so free?
Exactly.
Made you pause and rethink some stuff. So I'm showing what you shared of this sculpt here. And so in the meantime, because of the pivot, you've gone back to that concept art and you actually had somebody sculpt it, or did you sculpt it?
That's my work.
Look at you, man.
It's really weird, man. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I was talking to a fellow artist, and we were talking about like, do you still draw a lot on paper?
Yep.
And it's like back in the day, high school, right after high school and all that, my thing was pen, paper. It was stippling, it was cross hatching, it was all this pen and ink stuff and comic book drawing. And for me, it was like the birth of all this is when I bought my iPad Pro. When I bought my iPad Pro and I first started playing around with Procreate, man, it just opened up this world of endless possibilities.
That is so cool.
I was now able to work in layers and there's the undo option, and it just opens up so many possibilities for a sculptor and an artist that it's insane. So for me, I'm always trying to evolve as an artist, and I felt like, I get it. There's some people that are like, okay, this is what I do. I do concept art, or this is what I do. I do 2D illustration. And for me, it's like, why do I have to stop there? Why can't I be an all-around artist where not only can I concept something out, flesh it out, sketch it out, concept it, design it, but maybe even sculpt it, And I played around with ZBrush. I was like about over a year ago, and I felt pretty comfortable with things. Obviously it's a learning curve. You got to learn the tools, you got to learn the brushes, you got to learn, the controls and how to undo and how to do this. But ever since I started using ZBrush for iPad, I've been like, wow, this is so liberating because I don't have to be stuck in my office. I'm actually doing it at work or wherever I am. I just plug in and go. And I've been fleshing this thing out. And this is my first ever full body sculpt. I've always ever done head portraits. I started out doing like a lion-o. And, from there, I kind of moved on doing like a Skeletor, and I was working on a Mumra, but I was
Oh.
doing all that stuff like on a computer. So I went and I bought this huge tablet, which I have sitting here next to me, and this thing hasn't been used since it was bought because when I mostly create is when I'm at work and when I have downtime. When I'm home, it's mostly like I'm consumed by my children and my
No,
wife.
it totally
Or, like,
makes sense. And you've got Procreate there with you wherever.
yeah, so the on-the-go aspect
And ZBrush, yeah.
has really opened up, the ability for me to learn a new skill, to be able to polish my skills in this. And like, this is still, there's a lot of work and detailing to be done, but I want to say I'm like already like 80% in on this sculpt.
So this is definitely like kind of this aquatic sea creature. It's clearly more like a chibi, super deformed kind of like, and almost like it lends itself to like a sofubi vinyl toy. So is that where you're thinking of going with? Is this like
I mean, essentially, if you think about, how Mattel did the Motu minis.
Oh yeah.
So it was kind of like the idea originally when I first started thinking about this. It was like, okay, I'm new cat on the block, don't have capital. What's the cheapest way to get something fleshed out and out and in production? And my buddy Eric was like, man, chibis, like blind box, that kind of route. So I started designing and fleshing out all these characters in 2D. But it was funny because then when I showed this to Carlos, he was like, dude, it's cool. I get what you're coming from or whatever, but that's not the stuff I collect.
Yeah.
And
I remember
he told
that
me, and I
conversation.
know you, and you're not this type of collector. You're a 112 guy. So why not hold back and, don't hold back and just flesh out a 112 line. And that's when I kind of just went back to formula and redesigned the whole thing. And I'm super glad that I did, but I always kept in the back of my head, at some point, I want to realize these characters, whether it's like a companion figure or like a bonus blind box thing, but I want to make these things three-dimensional and something you can actually collect and have on your shelf.
They're cool looking, man. I was telling you, I'm heading back to Japan, and like the whole gachapon thing, and like, because you're mentioning smaller on these things. What is it? Labubus. Like, there's a market for all this, a pop mart type stuff.
Yeah.
Toys are toys. And so there's different markets and different interests, but the idea of bringing creatures into that, like, I think it's all good. And I love that you're pivoting creatively while you've sort of been forced to by the economy and the decisions of, I'll say it, monsters, but to kind of do this new thing. So I think it's really great. Obviously, we're all also very much interested in what you're doing because, like, as Vaz says, total vampire goodness. I think Brian says it really well here. It's the ultimate, from the realm, will be the ultimate vampire line across the years and history of vampires and beyond. Because as you've pointed out, man, we are gonna explore other realms beyond the realm of shadows, right? Or the shadow realm. And this was something you shared as well. So is this you now messing with sculpts potentially?
Correct. Yeah, this is my
nice.
This was a head that was supposed to be fleshed out by Eric. But again, just to keep myself distracted from all the wonderful things that are happening in this world right now, I just said, you know what? Let me take a stab at doing this distinguished gentleman, like old school kind of vampire. And I just started fleshing it out. And I'm super, I like pinch myself for like, wow, this looks so good. Seeing how I've been able to transfer from doing the 2D concept that I did for this to actually realizing it in 3D. And obviously there's still a lot more work to be done on this. And I'll probably get some help from Eric as far as doing the texturing for the skin and things like that. But I wanted to start fleshing out the look to get an idea of how this looks from different angles. And this would obviously be another one of the alternate head portraits that would be included in the Kickstarter. So yeah, that's That's how I've been keeping myself busy, man, creatively.
This is what it's about. So we started talking about Joe Fest and all the indie toys that sort of have landed there and have really, and from my perspective, taken over the show and really just grabbed our attention, right? So if you're an old school G.I. Joe person at that thing, there's no way you could ignore the crazy indie toy explosion that is happening right now. And then here you are, because of everything that's happened, you're ready to go. You've got your ideas, and you wish that the world was in a different state so that you could be in production and done the Kickstarter. And yet, okay, so then what are you going to do? And now you're learning new things and you're working with the 3D sculpting. So you're bringing back to life an old idea, right? That sort of kaiju idea, as David Salinas like perfectly hits a nail on the head. And now you're sculpting stuff from the realm. It's all amazing stuff, man. And at the end of the day, I know we're going to get these figures, but we can't. I'm impressed by, and I'm happy for you in that, like, you're just continuing to develop as an artist and as a creative at the same time, right? So sometimes I know, like, even with this channel, like, yeah, sure, it would be neat if things were bigger and at a different place. But then I pause. I'm like, no, but look at all the stuff that I'm learning along the way, and like, you're doing it, like, as far as like figures and art goes. So I think one of the first times we talked, you're like, yeah, I was starting to get back into drawing. I hadn't done it in a while, right? And that wasn't that long ago. And now you're doing 3D sculpting on your iPad and getting ready to launch.
It's crazy, man. Like, I've evolved a lot as an artist, and something else that was, I think it was like 2 weeks. No, it's been a good, probably a month now. Mondo released their Mumra 1/6 scale figure, right?
Gorgeous. Yep.
And you know how they do their toy talks on Wednesdays.
Yep.
You know how I'm kind of a Thundercats freak. So I was probably on their freaks. I was on their live stream, right? And I did not expect this, but they gave me a shout out. They had me. I picked out the trivia question for the giveaway for the Mumra, but not only that, they mentioned something that I may or may not have done for Mondo in an official capacity, and I wasn't expecting that. And that's yet again, like, it's just, I've been, another step forward in this whole world of like being a creator and a creative, and the things that I've achieved. And again, like, when we look at how the world is dealing with all this upside down lunacy, we have these wins that we have to look at, personally, and through our friends and our family, things that we achieve, ways that we stay distracted, and that we keep having that self-growth. And man, this thing for Mondo, I did back in, I was like July or August of last year, and I hadn't heard a peep about it, and then they just mentioned it. So it's like, when you see what I did for Mondo, dude, it's just mind-blowing, and it's like walking on clouds. I still pinch myself here and there, because the fact that I was actually got to work on what I worked on in an official capacity, got paid, and people are eventually going to have this in their shelves. It's that surreal, dude.
That is dope, and I'm happy for you, man, and I'm happy for us, because undoubtedly, like, it's going to be something dope that people are going to have the opportunity to get on their shelves. But even the experience, like I said, I'm happy for you that you've got that. I'm patient, as I've said, and I know you're this way too. I could not buy a toy for the next year, and probably for a good 2 years now, I'm still going to be getting toys that I pre-ordered a while back.
Yeah.
So I'm used to that. It is what it is, and I'm happy because the people who are in charge, I didn't say this earlier, but the people who are in charge of these indie toy companies are artists and creatives who have standards, and they want to put out good products, and they do. They put out fantastic products. So when we get those From the Realm figures, man, I know they're going to be amazing. When we see your little smaller vinyl, blind box, whatever it is. It's going to be amazing. Whatever you just teased through Mondo, it's going to be amazing. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Carlos. I'm happy for Eric, man. It's all good stuff. So
thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you. With that, let's go ahead and close up. I promise I will edit that thing. It's going to be a little bit out of date, but I think it was a good interview. It was sort of for my behind the views kind of thing. And just to get a little bit more in depth with the creator. So look out for that. Follow _the_realm on Instagram and the other stuff. If you forgot what those links were, if you again go down to that QR code over there or on the bottom, there's a URL scrolling right now underneath Jorge. There's that. But we should get going. Is there anything else that folks should know? Because I know you're in the toy tube sphere. What's going on with you guys?
I mean, no, just pretty much, my buddy Carlos keeps growing. Follow him for sure. The badass reviews. He's like our marketing genius. Like, I thought I knew people in the industry. Like, Carlos knows everybody. Everybody knows this guy. It's like Cheers. But
Norm. Yeah.
But man, I'm telling you, like, Carlos, definitely follow Sebas, who's Art of Sebadam, Eric Sosa on socials as well. And if you're into Thundercats, you might want to check out Thundercats _classics. Always definitely trying to put up as much new content as possible for that IP. But yeah, man, just looking forward to San Diego. It's going to be surreal. I haven't been there since 2018.
So the podcast Toy Addicts Thursdays, yes, and then Thursdays when?
It's usually like around 8 p.m. I know we didn't do it this week because Carlos is out of town and doing nationals, but I think we're going to be back on next Thursday. We'll definitely be doing some catch up and talking about a lot of stuff.
Okay, and you've also been jumping on with Mega J. I've seen like more and more, so that's awesome to see you. So check that out. All that stuff will be in the links probably later tonight because I will be hopping on to talk more Joe Fest indie toy goodness with the folks at Geek Dad Life. Just because I love talking to folks who are super nostalgic about toys and love the Hasbros and the Mattels and the Mondos, but I'd love to try and tell them about things like this, what this guy's doing. So look out for that. And then again, this Tuesday, Grindhouse Toys, World War Hell. You and I are on the exact same page. I saw the figures, awesome figures, great concepts. But the second I saw that VHS conceit and I was like, these guys get it. Yeah. So that'll be Tuesday night. And then next Sunday back here on the news, we're doing something fun. We're taking the Latin Legions and the news, Brick Something News, and we're going to mash them up. We're going to start over there, then move over for a news episode. It's going to be wild. I don't know how it's going to work, but it's going to work. So, hey, man, I know you're super busy in the summer, but I hope that it's a different kind of busy, and it sounds like you've got some good stuff going on. So from the realm, folks, shout out to Carlos, who is not here, and to Eric. Please send my love. Okay, folks, that's it for the show. I'm going to play some music now. Say goodbye because the music kind of cuts us off. Here we go.
Thank you, guys.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. I'm going to hide our faces, as cute as they are. Appreciate you, folks. Be safe. It's a crazy time right now. Hug your loved ones. Do all the good stuff. Be happy as best you can.